Most people think debt is just debt, something to avoid, pay off as fast as possible, and feel guilty about until it's gone. But that's not actually how money works. Some of the wealthiest people in the world carry enormous amounts of debt, on purpose. And some of the people most buried in financial stress have almost none. The difference isn't how much debt you have, it's what kind. Today we're going to break down the difference between good debt and bad debt, what actually separates them, how to tell which is which, and what to do if you've already got the wrong kind. Let's start with the basics. Good debt is debt that works for you. It either builds value over time, generates income, or gives you access to something that increases your earning potential. The clearest example is a mortgage. When you borrow money to buy a home, you're acquiring an asset, something that, in most markets, is worth more in 10 or 20 years than it is today. You're also building equity with every payment, which is essentially forced savings. Student loans are more complicated, and we'll get into that in a minute. But in theory, borrowing money to get a degree that meaningfully increases your income falls into this category. The debt is a tool to acquire something worth more than the debt itself. Business loans work the same way. If you borrow $20,000 to start a business that generates $60,000 a year, that debt paid for itself many times over. The common thread: good debt is an investment. You take on the liability to gain something of greater value. Bad debt is the opposite. It's borrowing money to buy things that lose value, or worse, things that are already gone by the time you're paying for them. Credit card debt is the most common example. When you carry a balance on a credit card, you're often paying 20, 25, even 30% interest per year. That means a $1,000 purchase could cost you $1,300 to $1,500 or more, depending on how long it takes you to pay it off. And what did you buy? Usually something that's already been used. A dinner out, a new outfit, a flight. The item has no ongoing value. You're paying interest on something that's already gone. Car loans sit in an interesting middle ground. A car has some utility. You need it to get to work, earn income, live your life. But it's not an investment. The moment you drive off the lot, it starts losing value. A new car can lose 20% of its value in the first year alone. That's why most financial experts suggest buying used with cash, or taking the smallest loan possible on a reliable vehicle. Here's where it gets more nuanced, because the good and bad framework isn't always clean. Student loans are a perfect example. In theory, education is an investment. In practice, it depends entirely on what you're studying, where you're studying, and how much you're borrowing. A $40,000 loan for a nursing degree that leads to a $75,000 a year salary? Good debt by almost any measure. A $120,000 loan for a degree with limited career earnings potential? The math doesn't work the same way. The question to ask with any debt is, what am I getting in return? And is it worth more than what this debt will actually cost me, including all the interest? Medical debt is another gray area. Nobody chooses to get sick, and the debt is usually unavoidable. But it's worth knowing that medical debt is often more negotiable than people realize. Hospitals frequently offer hardship programs, and medical debt was recently removed from credit reports in many cases. So if you have it, it's worth exploring your options before assuming you're stuck. If you're carrying high-interest debt right now, here's the straightforward approach. First, stop adding to it. This sounds obvious, but it's the most important step. You can't drain a bathtub with the faucet still running. Second, understand what you actually owe. List every debt, the balance, the interest rate, and the minimum payment. Most people are surprised when they see the full picture laid out. Third, pick a payoff strategy. There are two common approaches. The avalanche method focuses on the highest interest debt first, which saves the most money mathematically. The snowball method focuses on the smallest balance first, which builds momentum psychologically. Both work. Pick the one you'll actually stick with. Fourth, consider whether consolidation makes sense. If you have multiple high-interest credit cards, a personal loan or balance transfer card with a lower rate can reduce your total interest significantly, but only if you stop adding new charges while paying it down. The goal isn't to be debt-free at all costs. It's to make sure the debt you carry is working for you, not against you. Debt is one of those topics that gets oversimplified in both directions. Either debt is always bad, avoid it at all costs, or leverage is the key to wealth. The truth is somewhere in the middle, and it depends on the specifics. The framework to remember: if debt builds value, increases your earning potential, or gives you access to something worth more than the cost, it can be a tool. If it's funding things that lose value, or things you've already consumed, it's working against you. If this was helpful, subscribe to Life Literacy for more. We cover personal finance in plain terms, like they should have taught us in high school. Got a topic you want next? Drop it in the comments.